The Carnivorous Cathedral. The moon hung high, casting an eerie glow over the dense forest. Legends spoke of this place, a realm where nature's most macabre designs lurked in the shadows. It was here, in the heart of the untamed wilderness, that a nightmare awaited. Dr. Emily Harper, a botanist with a penchant for the extraordinary, had spent years chasing rumors of a unique carnivorous plant. She had traversed jungles, crossed deserts, and climbed mountains in search of flora that defied logic. Yet, none had captivated her as much as the tale of the Giant Venus Flytrap. The story had surfaced in an old, weathered journal she found in a forgotten corner of the university library. The author, an explorer named Richard Bellamy, had vanished without a trace after writing about his encounter with the monstrous plant. Harper's obsession with the plant led her to assemble a team of specialists: Jacob Marlowe, an ecologist with a sharp wit; Sarah, a fearless survivalist with a knack for navigating treacherous terrains; and Tom, a seasoned photographer whose lens captured both beauty and terror with equal finesse. Together, they ventured deep into the forest, driven by curiosity and the promise of discovery. The forest was a labyrinth of twisted trees and thick undergrowth, a place where sunlight struggled to penetrate. The air was thick with the scent of decay and the hum of unseen insects. As they pressed deeper, a sense of unease settled over the group. It was as if the forest itself was alive, watching their every move. After days of relentless trekking, they stumbled upon a clearing, its center dominated by a structure unlike any they had ever seen. Towering over them, a giant Venus flytrap stood, its massive jaws open wide as if beckoning them closer. The plant's green flesh glistened in the moonlight, and its crimson interior pulsed with an almost hypnotic rhythm. The sheer size of it was staggering, easily dwarfing the trees around it. "This is it," Emily whispered, her voice trembling with excitement and fear. "We've found it." Jacob's analytical mind kicked in. This defies all known botanical science. A plant of this size should be impossible. Sarah's instincts, however, screamed danger. "We should be careful. Something about this doesn't feel right." Tom, ever the documentarian, began snapping photos, capturing the plant from every angle. "This is going to make history," he said, his voice tinged with awe. As they approached the plant, they noticed something strange. The ground around it was littered with bones, some old and brittle, others disturbingly fresh. A chill ran down their spines as they realized the implications. The plant was not just a passive predator, it was an active hunter, preying on any creature foolish enough to venture too close. Emily, driven by her insatiable curiosity, stepped forward, ignoring the growing sense of dread. "We need to study it up close," she said, pulling out her notebook and camera. "This could be the discovery of a lifetime." Reluctantly, the others followed, their eyes darting nervously around the clearing. The plant seemed to sense their presence, its massive jaws quivering slightly. Emily knelt down to examine the base of the plant, her fingers tracing the intricate patterns on its surface. She was so engrossed in her work that she didn't notice the subtle movement of the plant's tendrils until it was too late. With a sudden, violent snap, the plant's jaws closed around her, trapping her inside. The team screamed in horror as they watched their friend disappear into the plant's maw. Jacob and Sarah rushed forward, trying to pry the jaws open, but their efforts were futile. The plant's strength was beyond anything they could have imagined. Inside the plant, Emily struggled against the crushing pressure. The air was thick with the smell of rotting flesh, and she could feel the plant's digestive enzymes starting to break down her skin. Panic set in, and she fought desperately, but the plant's grip was unrelenting. She could feel her consciousness slipping away, her last thoughts consumed by the realization that she had become part of her own nightmare. Outside, Jacob and Sarah were frantic. "We have to do something," Jacob shouted, his voice filled with desperation. Sarah's mind raced. "Fire," she said suddenly. "We need to burn it." Tom, shaken but determined, grabbed his backpack and pulled out a can of lighter fluid and a pack of matches. "It's our only chance," he said, his hands trembling as he doused the plant with the fluid. He struck a match and set it ablaze. The plant recoiled, its flesh sizzling and blackening under the intense heat. Its jaws opened slightly, and Jacob and Sarah seized the opportunity, pulling Emily's limp body free. They dragged her away from the burning plant, their eyes wide with fear and adrenaline. The fire consumed the plant, its agonized screams echoing through the forest. The team watched in horrified silence as the monstrous predator was reduced to ashes. But their victory was hollow. Emily was gone, a victim of her own ambition. They buried her in the clearing, the ground still warm from the fire. As they stood over her grave, a sense of unease settled over them. The forest was silent, but they knew that they were not alone. The legend of the Giant Venus Flytrap had been born from a place of darkness, and they had merely scratched the surface. As they made their way back through the forest, the shadows seemed to close in around them, whispering of the horrors that lay hidden in the depths. They had survived the encounter, but they knew that the forest would never let them forget. The nightmare was far from over, it had only just begun. The journey back to civilization was a somber one. The weight of Emily's death hung heavily over them, each step a reminder of the price they had paid for their curiosity. The forest, once a place of potential discovery, had become a sinister entity in their minds, a living, breathing organism with its own dark desires. Sarah, who had always been the most pragmatic of the group, found herself haunted by nightmares. She dreamed of the plant, its jaws closing around her, the suffocating darkness, the feeling of being consumed alive. She couldn't shake the sensation that the forest was still watching him, waiting for another chance to strike. Jacob, on the other hand, became obsessed with understanding what had happened. He pored over his notes and the photographs Tom had taken, trying to make sense of the impossible. How could a plant of such size and ferocity exist? What other secrets did the forest hold? The questions gnawed at him, driving him to the brink of madness. Tom, the most outwardly affected, withdrew into himself. He no longer found joy in his work, his camera a constant reminder of the horrors he had witnessed. The images he had captured were too real, too raw, each photograph a portal to a moment he wished he could forget. He stopped speaking about the trip, burying the memories deep within himself. As weeks turned into months, the three survivors drifted apart, each consumed by their own demons. The once close-knit team was now fractured, their bond irreparably damaged by the trauma they had endured. The forest, and the monstrous plant within it, had left an indelible mark on their souls. One night, as Jacob sat alone in his study, he received a package. It was a small, unmarked box, delivered without a return address. Inside, he found a journal, old and weathered, much like the one Emily had discovered. The handwriting was unfamiliar, but the content sent chills down his spine. It detailed the experiences of another explorer, one who had encountered not just the giant Venus flytrap, but an entire ecosystem of carnivorous plants, each more horrifying than the last. The journal spoke of a hidden grove deep within the forest, a place where the plants had evolved to hunt the most dangerous prey of all, humans. It described traps and lures, plants that mimicked human voices, and others that released pheromones to attract their victims. The author warned of the forest's true nature, a sentient entity that protected its secrets with deadly precision. Jacob knew he had to find the grove. It was the only way to make sense of what had happened, to bring closure to Emily's death. He contacted Sarah and Tom, sharing the journal's contents with them. Reluctantly, they agreed to join him. Despite their fear, they knew that the answers they sought lay within the forest's depths. Armed with new knowledge and a determination to uncover the truth, the trio set out once more. The journey was fraught with danger, the forest seeming to resist their every step. Strange sounds echoed through the trees, shadows moved at the edge of their vision, and an oppressive sense of dread hung over them. As they neared the grove, the air grew thick with the scent of decay, and the vegetation became more twisted and unnatural. They found themselves in a place where the line between plant and animal blurred, where the flora seemed to pulse with a malevolent life force. In the heart of the grove, they discovered the truth. The plants were not just predators, they were part of a greater intelligence, a hive mind that controlled the forest. The Giant Venus Flytrap was merely one aspect of this entity, a guardian designed to protect the grove's secrets. The realization came too late. The forest closed in around them, tendrils and vines wrapping around their bodies, pulling them into the waiting jaws of the carnivorous plants. Their screams were swallowed by the darkness, their final moments a testament to the forest's insatiable hunger. In the end, they became part of the legend they had sought to unravel. The forest remained, an ancient, living cathedral of horrors, its secrets intact, waiting for the next curious souls to venture into its embrace. The story of the Giant Venus Flytrap was just the beginning, a prelude to a nightmare that would never end.